Hello, everyone. I am Steven Torres, faculty director here at Career Launch. I'm excited to be with.
I'm Sean O'Keefe. I'm the founder, partner, and chief impact officer of Career Launch, and really excited to bring this to you today. Our mission at Career Launch is to partner with colleges and career programs to scale the skill set of launching a holistic job or internship search. And we have partnerships with colleges throughout the country, but not all. And there's students who are interested in receiving the Career Launch material and understanding of the concepts that we teach. And so we created this live stream for students from anywhere in the United States and beyond to learn a little bit more about the Career Launch method.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. And today we have a special guest, Vince Menon, who is here, one of the original students as part of Sean's first cohort of classes. It was actually even before, Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was before we even had the name Career Launch.
Oh, way before. Yes.
So Vince, thank you so much for being here to share your story, going through the Career Launch method and everything.
It's great to be here with you both. Thanks for having me. Of
course. So let's start with this. How did you come about finding about the Career Launch method? We'll go back to the very, very beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was in my fall quarter of freshman year of college at Santa Clara University. And as some context, in high school, I'd been a pretty average student. I didn't have a ton of confidence. I was finding my way a little bit. And those first few weeks of college, I was looking for opportunities to expand my horizons, to meet new people, to get exposure to potential career paths. And I was really into sports, both as an athlete myself and then following the sports world. Saw that there was a sports panel hosted at SCU at Santa Clara University. And there was a particular speaker from the Oakland A's, which was my favorite team at the time and still is. And I went to the event, went to the panel, listened in. Lots of great knowledge about how to break into the sports industry. Ended up coming up to Sean, who was one of the panelists afterwards. He was the speaker from the Oakland A's and had a chance to get to meet him a little bit. And From there, we built our relationship, and I've learned a lot from him over the years, including about the Career Launch method.
Yeah. So you saw basically Sean at an event. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. So as a college student, we all obviously have lots of opportunities to go to different events. And sometimes it's about just jumping in and going and just simply seeing and taking advantage of the opportunities that are presented, even if you don't know exactly how it's going to play out. So that's what happened with me. Sports panel looked interesting. I didn't know exactly what it was going to be about, but I went to it. I prepared a few questions, a few notes that I wanted to talk about or potentially ask. Sean was a great speaker, immediately connected with what he was saying, and then approached him afterwards to introduce myself and get to know him a little bit more.
So you went up to, so you're one of those people that goes up to the guests after.
So I wasn't really one of those people. It was more of so again, going back to high school, right? Didn't have a lot of confidence, didn't have a lot of self-esteem. I was not the person raising their hand saying, oh, pick me, I want to participate. I was much more content to blend into the background. It was only because I wanted to expand my horizons. I wanted to put myself out there. And there was this person who really was resonating with what he was saying. This was my favorite sports team. And I took a bit of a leap of faith. I was the last one in the line to meet Sean, the very last person. So I was not at the front of the line, but ultimately I did approach him and at least give it a shot to introduce myself.
Okay, so wow, that's awesome.
And let me jump in because I remember. I mean, this was late 2009, and because Vince was the last person in line, he had asked if I had a business card, which I didn't because it was a student event, and I didn't think about bringing business cards to this panelist event. So I said, hey, well, I'll be walking to my car. You can join me. So we had a medium range walk to the car. So we continued having the conversation, and I grabbed the business card. So I got to know him more than the average student who stayed after. And then of course he followed up with me after that.
Interesting. So was it strategic, Vince, to stay to be the last one, or was it just that's the way it played out?
I wish, Steven. It was definitely the opposite of strategic. It was a lot more of the being someone who was more introverted, more shy, not familiar with the situation, trying to do something a little bit new. There's a lot of hesitancy, right? I think we can all relate to that, being college students, new skills, new experiences. So it was actually just either procrastinating and waiting to the end. Should I do this? Should I just run home and bail? And eventually I had the courage to at least get at the back of the line and eventually talk to him.
Yeah, it's so funny because, as someone who goes to events and things, you see that. You see the folks walking around the back like, should I get in line? Should I not get in line? Right. And you spoke to what really is the hesitancy, especially for someone who's a freshman, right? You're like, here's a speaker doing what I want to do. Do I get in line? Do I not? But it's good that you did. And so you got in line, you had the walk to the car, got the business card. And then what? How did you end up learning what Shawn was teaching?
Yeah, so the takeaway here, right, is if you put yourself out there, even if it's uncomfortable, there are situations that might be to your benefit that you can't possibly imagine. And that's what happened here. So just going to the event in the first place, getting in line, walking back to the car to get his business card, all of that led to me learning that he was going to be teaching a course the very next quarter. And it was a required course that I had to take. He was a new professor. And I said, hey, why not, right? This seems like someone who's working for an organization or a company that I'm really interested in. He seems like a nice guy. If I do well in this class, maybe we can build a bit of a relationship. Maybe he can help me just learn about jobs or internships or just generally figure out what I want to do with my career, do with my life, right? So I ended up enrolling in his class, and then we moved on from there.
That's fantastic. And what was the class, Vince?
So it was Business 71. It was a leadership course, just 2 units, just one night a week for a couple hours, just for one quarter. So nothing heavy duty, but I made sure to be one of the best students in that class. So I over prepared. I did all my assignments to the best of my ability. Again, I was shy, so I didn't like to participate, but I made sure to raise my hand to be one of the local students in the class so that Shawn would notice me and really could tell the effort I was putting in. I stayed late to get to know him, to continue building that relationship, and it ended up being very influential and important for me.
That's fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about that class because, Shawn, if I'm not mistaken, at this time, we didn't have the career launch method, right? You were just putting things together at this time. What were you thinking as you were putting this class together for folks like Vince?
So this is the first class I ever taught. I was 29, and I was nervous as a first-time teacher. In preparing, I spent a lot of time preparing for each. It was only once a week, like Vince said, but I put a lot of time into thinking about how those class sessions were going to play out once a week for 10 weeks. And I just, part of the reason I was asked to teach the class is because I wanted to share, my experience in college on being proactive to tap into the hidden job market and build relationships from scratch at the organizations I wanted to work. And I just felt like I wanted to pay that forward, not knowing if it was going to work or not. I mean, this is the very first time I ever taught a class and tried to share this, methodology, which when Vince went through this in 2010, it was not even close to being refined as what is going to, is what it is now. But the students responded. The students, they were, I think because we talked about it in previous live streams, there's the step-by-step guidance, but then there's also helping students overcome the mental challenges and the psychological hurdles about either being an introvert or having imposter syndrome, thinking I'm not good enough. Why would a professional give me their time? All those kind of things. And I just made sure to spend class time on both aspects. And luckily enough, students like Vince and his classmates, they went out and they implemented and it worked, and I got invited to keep on teaching.
Yeah, people who, for those of you, when you get into education and you teach a class, you realize, the time that someone spends to prepare for the class is an order of magnitude more than what they actually do in the class. It's amazing. So let's talk about this, Vince. So you're going through this class and, you're learning this. It wasn't really theoretical stuff at this point. It was really practical stuff, right?
For sure. Yeah, very practical. So Shawn was doing a great job of teaching the core content about business leadership. And I think the students immediately resonated with his style, very personable, very engaging. And then, like he mentioned, right, he was also incorporating and weaving in some of the concepts around launching your career. And those included informational interviews and assignments and encouragement about doing informational interviews or career conversations. And so that led to me, through Shawn, being introduced to somebody who actually worked at the Oakland A's and having a career conversation with her, getting to learn a little bit more about the organization specifically, and then just generally what was happening in the industry. And those do a couple things for you. They build confidence. If you're a student and you're meeting professionals who are at these organizations that you would like to join or that inspire you, that you follow, it makes you feel good. You obviously learn a lot about what these jobs and these roles look for, what they entail, and it's very empowering and really gives you a new way of looking at yourself even and seeing what you're capable of. And then tangibly, you end up building these relationships with professionals that can lead to jobs. And that's actually exactly what happened for me. A couple months after doing my first career conversation that Shawn helped coordinate, I landed a part-time job with the Oakland A's, my first professional experience with my total dream organization.
Was this, so you were a freshman, was this going into your sophomore year?
It was actually even quicker and sooner than that. So the timing was, that class was winter quarter, so very beginning of 2011. And within a few weeks of being in that class, we had the informational interview or career conversation assignment. Shawn helped get me introduced to somebody at the A's. I had that conversation, and within 2 months, I then landed a job with the Oakland A's in a different department, a different role, but it was that initial conversation that Shawn helped facilitate that ended up being the catalyst to help get me that new job.
Okay, so I want to go back to this though. So you're a freshman and you're reaching out to these professionals. What the heck was going through your mind?
I think naturally, if you haven't done it before, it is intimidating, it's scary, you don't think you're going to be good at it. And the key is remembering that everybody else feels that way too. So I think in general, as humans, we're a lot harder on ourselves than we need to be, and we lose perspective that everybody is going through something similar. The fact of the matter is that professionals actually enjoy helping students. The student card is way more powerful than you'll ever understand. It actually is very flattering to a professional if you reach out and want to know about their background and their history. So in fact, it's a completely different way of thinking. You actually really have to do this to advance your own career, and people in the professional world, they want to help, they want to give back. It feels good for them too.
Awesome. So you went and you do this, you go through this process, you have your career conversation, and you didn't get the job with that person. Is that right?
That's right. I didn't get the job with them, but ended up finding out about a different department a couple months later that was actually hiring for an even better type of role that I was a better fit for.
And I think this is for those of you out there that are listening to this and you're thinking, well, you know, gosh, what happens if you have this conversation and they don't have a job? They're not the right person, right? What Vince is saying is just because you reach out to someone and you have a career conversation with them, that doesn't mean that that's necessarily going to be the person that has the internship or job for you. It may be someone else, but that influence, right? That I don't want to say insider, but you know, this internal advocate, Shawn, as you sometimes talk about, is able to connect you. Is that right, Shawn?
Yeah, Vince, you obviously did a great job in the 20 or 15, 20, 30 minutes that you had in that career conversation. You obviously made a great impression because that person was then willing to introduce you to other people in his or her network for you to be able to learn about those other positions, the better position, in fact.
That's awesome. So you reach out, you get an internship, and you're working now with the Oakland A's as a freshman in college. Right. And again, I to put that in perspective, that's just fantastic. Right. That's like a dream, because you'd always wanted to work in this industry.
For sure. And what I would tell people is it may seem impossible or unlikely that you're going to get this type of opportunity as a freshman. But if you do it the right way, right, starting from when you're heading into college, fall of freshman year, like it was for me, if you work hard, if you try to build relationships with other professors, other students, just other people that your family and friends might know in the industry, these opportunities do exist if you do it the right way. They're not outside of your reach. And I think for me, Stephen, like I said earlier, one of the big issues with lack of confidence, not having great self-esteem in high school, was landing this initial job. It gave me some swagger that I didn't have. So just even walking around my freshman dorm, I was like the only person that actually had a job. It was a pretty big deal. And I was working for this super cool organization that I was really excited about. It made me feel better. It made me look at myself in a different way. And then the momentum builds from there. The hardest thing is just getting started. But if you can do that, then you'll start to get better at it. You'll feel good about it. And it's going to continue that virtuous cycle for you.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, you were the kid on the playground with the bubble gum, right?
Yeah.
You had the bubble gum because you had this internship. And so let's talk about then how did you parlay that into other things? Did you stay at the A's? I mean, long term, or how did this then morph into other things?
Yeah. So the big thing is that once you get a taste of it, then you want more. So again, just dipping your toe in the water, landing your first opportunity, you'll realize how good it feels, how empowering it is, and that creates momentum and energy in other directions. So I remained close to Shawn, right? So I actually became a TA for him for future Business 71 classes. So we stayed close, and that helped encourage me to go land another internship with the Santa Clara Athletics Department. So that was an unpaid internship. It was all about just gaining skills, experience, hustling, learning more about that particular industry. And because I had the Oakland A's experience, that gave the SCU Athletics Department confidence that they could bring me on and I would do a good job. So one job leading to the next. And then the following summer, I was able to actually land an internship with HP, with Hewlett Packard. And that was a result of a speaker that Shawn had brought in, somebody that he knew. And because I was TAing for his class, again, going above and beyond cultivating and building the relationship with Shawn, I was there to see this guest speaker and then ultimately was able to connect with him offline. And he was able to help me land that internship with HP and break into the technology space.
You really nailed this guest speaker thing, huh? Sounds like, yeah, you got some tips to share there as far as building a relationship, using that interaction to be opportunistic, right? And because not everybody that stays after and gets in line and introduces themselves receives an internship. And basically, I know you've had many more experiences. Two of these three internships that you took, or that you earned, were the result of you being opportunistic and following up and creating those opportunities for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, good memory. If I can just jump in there, Shawn. So the way that the HP internship came about is that after this particular guest speaker had come in and spoken to Shawn's class, I had to send, I think, 4 or 5 emails to that person afterwards to get and stay on his radar. And ultimately it did land and convert into this amazing internship that opened up a lot of extra doors, but it was the extra tenacity. And again, going back to how students perceive things, students may think I am bothering a professional if I follow up 2 or 3 times. That's not the case, right? Professionals are very busy. They have a lot going on. It's actually a necessity, and they probably want to help you. They just maybe have something going on in that particular time frame. Don't let that deter you.
Wow. I mean, there's so much that we could unpack right there. I want to talk about that. Like I think Shawn pointed out something that's really interesting, that, you were able to leverage the guest speakers as a way to get into this. And I think for those of you out there, sometimes we have this misconception that I have to do all of this stuff really, really well. And, one of the things I know when I teach entrepreneurs, one of the things I like to say is, everything that we say is a way, it's not the way for you. And Vince, I think what you're showing here is that you kind of used this method and the things that you were learning in a way that at the time felt comfortable for you, and in a way that worked for what you at the time felt was best.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. The key is that I can't take a lot of credit for that because I had people like Shawn in this case, and then other professors as well, other people, friends and family who were encouraging me. I had a lot of people saying, here's how it's done. There's no way I would have followed up 4 or 5 times with that guest speaker from HP that ultimately landed me that internship if I hadn't had Shawn encouraging me and saying, this is okay, he's a busy executive. So the advice here is that, again, that felt uncomfortable for me. That felt foreign. That didn't feel right at the time. How am I supposed to, or why am I supposed to, or is it okay for me to send so many messages to this particular person, even if they've expressed a little interest, but they're a little busy? So again, the key takeaway here is, even if it doesn't necessarily feel natural, which it won't, it's something new, it's a new skill, it's a new experience, that's okay. Continue on, fight through that discomfort and get to the other side of it. Lean on people in your network, go the extra mile to cultivate those relationships. It will pay off for you. And that is what sets you apart.
Yeah.
And let me add, everyone out there, I just want to reiterate something Vince said in passing, is that he did these 3 or 4 or 5 touches over a period of months. It wasn't like he did it 3 or 4 days in a row. So one of the things that we teach is understanding the nuance and the balance between giving up and potentially being bothersome, because you certainly don't want to be the latter, but you also certainly don't want to give up either. So there's some nuance in there. And when you're following up and you're playing the student card, you're not only representing yourself, you're representing your university too. So it's really important to be mindful of being professionally persistent, but never coming close to being annoying.
Yeah. That's such great advice, right? Because it's one thing to do, 3 or 4 touch points over a period of time. It's another thing to be sending 3 emails an hour like, you didn't respond yet? You didn't respond yet? You didn't respond yet? Like, that's not good. You don't want to be the stalker, right? There's just so much here, Vince. As you reflect back on this experience, right? You talked about, being maybe a little shy and not comfortable, introverted. For other students who are out there that might be struggling and going, well, that's good for him, but I don't know about me, how would you respond to that? What would you share with those students who may also be introverted or questioning, I don't know, maybe for him, not me? What would you say to them?
Well, I was in that position, right? So I didn't think that I was supposed to have all of these great things eventually happen to me as it relates to jobs and opportunities. I was the shy one. I was the one blending in the background. So I've been in your shoes. I've done it. Never in a million years, a few years ago, would you have seen me on a live stream like this. It just wouldn't have happened. So I would tell you that the benefits and all the opportunities that will come your way are more powerful, and they are worth you striving and you pushing through some of that initial discomfort. We've all been there. You're not alone. People want to help you. They probably want to help you more than you can possibly imagine. You're probably better at this than what you are even giving yourself credit for. But again, you're a student, you're playing the student card. Nobody expects perfection. So as long as you go in humble, curious, prepared, respectful, interested in what's going on with them, their industry, their company, people will give you opportunities. Follow up on that, be focused, and it will work out for you. But again, I can tell you it's not worth being in the current state that you're in, where maybe you're holding back, you're fearful of making a mistake. I promise you, people don't expect perfectionism. Even if it doesn't work out exactly the way you want down the road, it will be worth it. So push through.
Yeah. So Shawn, when you hear this and you look at, everything that Vince has been able to do using this method, how do you translate this to students out there who are thinking, well, gosh, how do I get that confidence that Vince had, right? How do I do that? How do you think about that for those students?
Yeah, if you just to build on what Vince was saying, how you frame things in your mind. So I think, thanks for reiterating the point, Vince, about the professionals that you do reach out to when you do get a career conversation. They're not expecting permission. Should you be prepared? Should you be respectful? Absolutely. If you make a mistake or you stutter or you lose your train of thought and you got to look at your notes or something like that, it's really no big deal. These professionals understand you're a student. You're still figuring things out. They're not expecting you to be have everything perfectly articulated. So that's some really, hopefully that's a lot of comfort for all the students listening in. The other thing to think about is, okay, a lot of students get a paralysis by analysis, and they overthink things, and they just think and think and think, and they don't do. And so what Vince is saying is, if you could just start doing, easier said than done. But however, just think about it like this. What is the downside of taking action and reaching out to somebody? Maybe a little bit of time, a little bit of your time, and maybe you stutter over your words, or you accidentally put a typo in, even though you triple checked your email that you sent, or you actually set up a meeting and you fumble a little around more than you would have liked, and it doesn't go perfect. Well, that imperfect conversation, not just sometimes, a lot of times, not every time, but a lot of times, like Vince and Yuli and all the other guests we've had on the show and will continue to have on this live stream in future weeks, good things happen when you take action. People like to help people. There's a Will Smith movie, I think it's like 10 years old now, but The Pursuit of Happiness. Mm-hmm. And there's this phrase in the movie, and it goes something like, people helping people, you turn around the corner and you're part of a miracle. Like, people like to help people. People especially like to help students. Professionals like to help students. So everyone out there thinking about being apprehensive or nervous about taking action, what do you truly have to lose? A little bit of time and maybe a little bit of, oh, I could have done that better. Yeah. But the upside in comparison is phenomenal. Like, it leads to sometimes just clarity in vocation and in career discernment, in career exploration, right? Not every career conversation is going to turn into an internship or a job. Many do, but a lot of them don't. But does that mean it was not fruitful? Heck no. Because in the process, you're learning about what you like and what you don't like, and you're learning vicariously. So if, say, you're interested in like 5 different industries in 20 different companies, it's impossible to have internships with every single one. Having internships is the best way to get a bird's eye view into what a job after college, a job after completion looks like. Yeah. The next best thing would probably be a job shadowing experience. Those aren't that common. The next best thing after that is talking to a man or a woman in the position and asking them what it's really like, and learning vicariously. So even if it doesn't land an internship or a job, which if you do enough of them, it probably will. But even if it doesn't, not only do you get great knowledge and insider's perspective, you build social capital, and you now have more people in your life that you could follow up with in the future and ask for a secondary meeting. Sometimes it leads to referrals and introduction to other people, as the case was with Vince, and it turns into an internship with someone else that you didn't meet with. And then it builds self-confidence and courage. And that's the kind of thing, and which is so rewarding to hear. Vince is one of my oldest students, is that what you're saying is that this helps you step out of your comfort zone and created a new you. You're now less extroverted. I'm sorry, you're now less introverted, and you're still naturally born introvert, but you've learned to become, like myself, extroverted, which helps you build more relationships. And so it's been great, Vince, to have you on today and reminisce. This is really great. Thanks for sharing.
My pleasure.
Yeah, Vince, I really want to thank you. So we're almost at the end of today's student stream. I do want to encourage you, please, if you want to learn more, like what Shawn was saying, some of the stuff that Vince was learning, we have an upcoming masterclass. It's scrolling across the bottom, how to access the hidden jobs and internships others get. And it's going to be March 17th at 3 p.m. The link is down there. Of course, join us every week for these student streams. And you can also check out the upcoming book, Launch Your Career Book, and that'll be on the website, launchyourcareerbook.com. So thank you all, everyone. Thank you, Vince, for sharing your story with us, and we'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.